All right, hello, my math Ohana. All right, so we are going to do Unit 4 notes a little different because we saw some people testing. All right, so for this video, you are going to need your IMB and a pencil and glue. Okay, so when you get your IMB, I need you to open up to page 14. And on page 14, it should be on your left side. If it's not on your left side, you need to come up and talk to me. All right, so on page 14, you are going to title it Integer Words. So you're titling it Integer Words. Okay, and then you are going to make a T-chart that goes all the way down. And on the left side, you're going to write a negative sign and the word negative. And then on the right side, you're going to put a positive sign and you're going to write positive. Okay, so on the left side of your notebook should be page 14 and you're titling it Integer Words. You're going to make a T-chart going all the way down the page. On the left side, you're going to write negative and then the word negative. And then on the right side, you're going to put a positive sign and write the word positive. Okay, now on page 15, you're going to title it Unit 4 Divider. Okay, so on page 15, you're going to title it Unit 4 Divider. And in front of the room, you're going to pick up your divider and you're going to go ahead and glue it on page 15. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and glue in your divider on page 15. Okay, on page 16, you need to title it Opposite and Absolute Value. So on page 16, I need you to title it Opposite and Absolute Value. So right now we're just going to take some notes on it, and then I am going to put some guided practice on here for you guys to practice. So on page 16, you're going to title it Opposite and Absolute Value. Okay, and then you are going to skip about 1, 2, 3 lines. And you're going to draw the best you can a number line. Okay, and you're going to start at 0, 1, 2, all the way until you get to the end. So, okay, so mine stops at 6. If yours goes a little bit longer, that's fine. So to the left of 0, you have your negative. So -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. Okay, so right above your number line, you're going to draw an arrow going this way. And so this way is to your right. So to the right of 0 are positive numbers. So that means to the left of 0 are negative numbers. And so we already talked about this, but this should just be a little review. All right, so underneath it, you're going to have 2 little bullets. Okay, so I need you to write the further right you go. So the further right, you're going to underline the word right. So the further right you go on the number line, Okay, so the further right you go on the number line, the value of the number will increase. The value of the number will increase, and you're going to underline the word increase. All right, so now you have to underline the word increase. So the further right, you increase. Now this is going to be the same thing, but we're going to the left. So the further left you go on the number line, and you're going to underline the word left. So the further left you go on the number line, the value will decrease. And you're going to underline the word decrease. Okay, so the further right you go, it increases. The further left you go, it decreases. Okay, so we are done writing notes in your IMB. I need you to grab a paper that looks something like this. It should be next to your Unit 4 divider, and we are going to fill that in. Okay, so it says understanding positive and negative numbers and absolute value. Numbers that are greater than 0 are called positive numbers. Okay, they are located to the right of 0 on a number line, and they can be written with or without a positive sign. Okay, so this should just be a quick review from the previous slide. All right, so the next one, it says numbers that are less than 0 are called negative numbers, and they are located to the left of 0 on a number line, and they are always, so please make sure you underline the word always, written with a negative sign. Okay, and so it says when solving problems with positive and negative numbers, you can think about how far from 0 the number line is and in what direction. So label the number line, start with 0 somewhere near the middle. Okay, so you have 0, to the right are all my positive numbers, then to my left are all my negative numbers. Okay, and you got to get used to that. Sometimes 0 is not always going to be in the middle. Okay, all right, so to finish off with these notes, it says numbers. So this is a part where we're talking about absolute and opposite. So absolute value and opposite numbers. So numbers that are the same distance from 0 but in opposite directions are called opposite numbers. Okay, every whole number, fraction, and decimal has an opposite. So the opposite of 2 would be negative 2. So if I had 0 here, this is 1, this is 2, negative 1, and negative 2. So if I look from 0 to 2, it's 1, 2 spaces. And then negative 2, it's 1, 2 spaces, just the different way. Okay? All right, so all the whole numbers and their opposites are called integers. Okay, so somewhere on the side, I want you to write example. And so I want you to try these 2 little examples. So the opposite of negative 5 is 5. The opposite of 10 is negative 10. Okay, and you're not putting an equal sign because negative 5 doesn't equal 5, and positive 10 doesn't equal negative 10. All right, so down here, this is where we're talking about, so it should say the absolute value of a number is its distance from 0 on the number line. So this sign right here, there's 2 lines. that represents absolute value. So it's saying this means the absolute value of -2. So -2 is how many units away from 0. So how many spaces? -2 is 2 units from 0. So the absolute value of -2 is 2. Okay, so right here, if I had the absolute value of -8, -8 is how many spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of -8 would just be 8. Okay, if I had, so make sure you're writing this down, but if I had the absolute value of 3, okay, so you're thinking how many spaces is 3 away from 0? Well, 3 is 3 spaces away from 0. So absolute value can never be negative. Okay, so right here it says absolute value represents distance. So its value is always greater than or equal to 0. That means it's always positive. So make sure you're writing this down. Okay, and there is one tricky one that I like to throw in on all your quizzes. So it would look like this. So negative would be on an outside, and then I would put -7. Okay, and so the way you would solve this is the absolute value of -7. So how many spaces is -7 away from 0? It's 7 spaces. But because there's a negative sign outside of it, my answer would be -7. So I want you to try this one. What is the absolute value of -3, but there's a negative number outside of it? Okay, so you should have got -3. All right, so whenever you are done with this video, you're going to watch the other video that has the guided practice over it.